Strap in, speed freaks. Today, we's looting a Goliath Mauler for Warhammer 40,000. So put the pedal to the metal and let's do some hobby.
So here we have the Goliath Mauler Necromunda kit we're going to use for my orcs. For some reason this one didn't have instruction manuals in the box, so I printed one off. And also the Goliath Mauler bases are a bit bigger than the Warbiker bases, so I had to get a smaller base. So we're going to clip off all of the parts from the sprue, and then I will use a blunt knife to just trim away any of the sprue connectors and the mold lines, just going around and cleaning off any shavings. Next I use plastic glue to assemble it. I started off just assembling it as per the instructions because I thought that a Goliath ganger was about the same size as an orc, so I shouldn't need to do too much converting. So just get all the parts on. And I had an old Ork Nobz, but when I put him on he didn't quite fit because his boots were too big for the footrests. So I had to break the mauler in half, and then I use a hobby saw to cut away the footrests there. Just use a cut-proof glove to minimize damage to your hands. I then went in with a sharp hobby knife just to get it fairly flush and cut that off, made it a smaller size, and then I decided to stick him back in at an angle that would let his feet rest on it, so he's leaning back like it's a kind of cruiser. The armaments for the Goliath Mauler has bolters or grenade launchers. I used half of the grenade launcher, and then I had some spare super shooter barrels from a Ork plane kit, so I used those to make the Daka guns. Then I get some sprue goo to fill out any holes and any gaps between the two pieces. Then I got some other little guns to decorate, and I also put a hood from a plane on this. So there's the Mauler, and then with the knob I just readjusted one of his hands so it would be holding the handlebar, and he goes on like that. Then I spray everything in Wraithbone and start off with Blood Angel's red. So for contrast, I try to just get the right amount of paint on and paint section by section, and don't try to brush over the same spot again and again, just to minimize the amount of pooling and streaking that you get. It is a bit of a learning curve with contrast, and you'll never get it fully smooth, but it looks good enough. Next I'm going to use some Black Legion and Wraithbone to clean up. So Black Legion for any of the parts that I'm going to paint black or metallics. Takes a little while, but you kind of need to do this, especially with the lighter colors, because contrast is fairly translucent. So I'm just going to go over any parts that I'm going to paint in lighter colors in Wraithbone. Next for metallics, start off with Lead Belcher, and I just fairly randomly pick out different pieces of the metallics to paint different colors. So I've got, the Lead Belcher, I've got some Balthazar gold here for some of the plates, and then some Screaming Bell as well, and just for some little detail parts I'm also going to use some Retributor armor just for the vent gilding there. Next, Agrax Earthshade to wash all that down, so pretty heavily cover all the metallics so it shades it down and also makes it look sort of really dirty and grimy, which is good for orcs. Next I'm going to use some secondary colors just so everything's not red. So Nazdrag Yellow is the main one I do with my Evil Sun's scheme, so I've got a little plate on the side there that I'm going to paint in Nazdrag Yellow. Apothecary White for the skull on the hood. And then I'm also going to use some Creed camo for the ammo canister there. Next I'm going to use some bright colors to paint any of the electrical type cables, so some Talisar Blue, some Warp Lightning, and I'm also going to use some Blood Angel's red to paint some details on the speedometers there, the little dials. Now some muted colors to paint any of the hoses and leather parts, so got some Black Templar there for these hose looking things on the hood. And then I'm going to use snakebite leather for the seat and the little backrest part on the top. And I'm going to use wildwood for the leather wraps on the handlebars. So I also wanted to add a little bit more detail on this big blank spot, so I'm going to paint some flames. So with Wraithbone, just draw some squiggly lines and shape them into flames, and then I use Nazdreg yellow on top of that to give it that yellow contrast with the red. And next, for the tires, I'm going to dry brush those in Dawnstone, just because Black Legion's fairly opaque. Then last of all, I'm going to use some Steel Legion drab and just dry brush it across the model to make it look pretty dusty, like he's been screaming through the desert. So that's the bike overall. It was pretty quick to do and I'm pretty happy with the results. Here's my little gubbins, and the knob I painted the same as I did knobs in another video. So then I'm just going to assemble them. So a base, again I've done a video on those. I pin it to the base using a paper clip and super glue, and then I just super glue the knob down in place there. He fits pretty nicely. Put the little shotgun thing, boomstick, on his side, and then there's a little bundle of a chopper and a stick bomb. I think that's from a Storm Boys kit maybe. And then I'm going to just add some dead tufts to the base, and we're just about done. So I really enjoyed this guy, fun little side project, and he is ready to lead a mob of warbikers to deliver some drive-by Dakar.